What's going on, peeps? We got 5 people in here it's showing right now, so I'll give a little bit of time as everybody starts connecting in. Let's see here. Pull up the lesson from yesterday. How we doing? All right. Hey, Katie, what's going on? I got like 3-4 monitors going on at once, so I'm like trying to make sure everything is organized and I'm actually doing the right thing at the right time. Let's see here. Hey, Tabitha, what's going on? Figure out how to get you on my TV. Oh, sweet. Do you have me on like Chromecast or Amazon Fire Stick? That's how, when I play video games, that's how my brother watches me. He puts it on his Fire TV stick. I'm trying to see. Let me know if you guys are having any issues with the stream today. It says I got 10 people in here, but there must be some delay because it's not showing me everybody that's on. The only 3 people I'm seeing are Katie, Sierra, and Tabitha. So if you are in here and you're getting an error, just let me know. I may have to change the resolution of the stream in order for it to work properly for you. I'm just trying to test some stuff out. Oh, I guess that works too. That's old school, Tabitha. I used to do that back when I was in college. Well, I think the reason why I'm not seeing everybody is because some people are stuck watching ads right now. Hey, what's going on, Mariah? Some people might be stuck watching ads, so they're not popping up inside as users quite yet. So I'll just start teaching. If somebody pops in and says that if they say that they're having trouble connecting, I may have to like stop the stream and reconnect it. But if I have to stop it, I'm only going to be stopping it for like 10 seconds. So I'm just going to go on with the lesson. We did pretty much everything on the front page yesterday. There's a couple that we skipped over, but yesterday was more or less just making sure you guys knew how to graph and which quadrant they would go into. So rather than go back and do any of the problems on the front page, I'm going to continue on with the very first problem on the back page because it's actually kind of a warm-up with the last 2 problems that we did. And then we're going to talk about the definition of a coterminal angle, which is essentially what we did in the last 2 questions, G and H. They were coterminal. I mentioned it to you guys, but we didn't really go too much in detail with it. So if we look at exercise number 2, it says, in which quadrant would the terminal ray of an angle drawn in standard position fall if the angle measures 860 degrees? So yesterday we talked about graphing angles, and when we do angles, we always want them to be between 0 and 360 degrees. And the reason we do that is because 1 full spin is 360, and we could just keep adding on 360 forever and ever and ever and ever. So in this case, we have 860, and that 860 isn't really going to help us out right now because it's not falling between there. So in order to get in between 0 and 360, we just have to take those full circles away from it. So this is kind of like what we did in letter G yesterday. We had 460 degrees. And you guys should notice up here, even though we started at 460, we just subtracted a 360 away until we got to an answer that was between 0 and 360. That's all I'm going to do down here. It's going to be the same thing. So I'm starting with 860. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to subtract 360 away. And if we subtract that, we're just going to be left with 500 degrees. After you do so, you're going to notice that 500 degrees is not in between 0 and 360. So what you have to do is subtract 360 again. So we're just going to see how many, what you guys would have learned it in geometry is as revolutions. A revolution is a full rotation. So we're trying to figure out how many resolutions we could take out. All right, looks like I'm going to have to fix it for Javon. So I'll finish this one problem and then we'll get him in. So I got to subtract off another 360, which if I do it, it looks like it's going to be at 140 degrees. So now I subtracted it off. I'm at 140. That is in between 0 and 360. Now, all we got to do is figure out which quadrant that is in. And based on what we said yesterday, you don't have to draw this out, but I'm writing it out just to show you guys. We have 0, we have 90, we have 180, we have 270. 140 degrees is going to fall within the second quadrant because it's between that 90 and 180. Yes, Ella, so Ella has a very good question. And I'm going to make sure that you guys are very, very precise in doing this. She asked, do you always have to put the degree sign after each number or just in the final answer? I suggest you put it after everyone because this year I have to teach you guys a new type of angle. And it's not necessarily going to just be in degrees. It's also going to be in what's known as radians. And radian measure is important when we start getting into trig stuff. So as of right now, yes, you should be putting the degree symbols after every single number. And I will tell you guys when it's okay not to. So give me like 10 seconds. I'm going to disconnect the stream and I'm going to reconnect right back. I just have to disconnect to put it at a smaller HD level so Javon can get in here. So I will be right back. All right. So hopefully you guys didn't like get booted and you're still in here. I'll put a little question in here. You guys still here? Because it showed that we had 13 viewers and it just dropped down to 6. So if you're seeing my message but you're not seeing the video, just click refresh. And I'll type that too. If you don't see the live video. So if you guys are watching this on your phone, you're not going to really see much of a difference. Tabitha, like for you, you're watching on your TV, you're going to notice that the quality just went down a little bit. And that's because we had to pick up some people that are having trouble connecting at a higher HD frequency or resolution. So I'll wait a second while everybody's refreshing in. Don't you guys just love technology issues? If you guys are back in here, can you like just throw an emoji or something in the chat? Because again, from my point of view, it just shows that 0 people are in here. Okay, maybe it's just going to come out to be the same, Tabitha. Oh, apparently I just got disconnected from there, but no, that's fine. All right, so it looks like some of you guys are getting back in. That is good. I got to reconnect my iPad now because I was off of it for too long. Okay, so a lot of you guys are still here. It looks like we're okay then. All right. Yeah, it showed that there was like 15, 16 people in here, and then it just went to 0 because I restarted. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so let me go back into this then. All right, so I just finished up exercise number 2. I hope you guys feel okay with that because we're going to continue it on in exercise number 3 as well. So as I go down to exercise number 3, what we actually just did in number 2 is what we're going to be doing in number 3. Number 2, when we are subtracting that 360, that is called a coterminal, and I forgot my little hyphen here. It is called a coterminal angle. So a coterminal angle means that if you do a rotation of 360 degrees, you will end right where you started. And I'll draw a little picture of it off to the side because it's easier to see as a picture. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this second quadrant. I'm going to move it over here because that was the answer to this problem. I'm going to draw coterminal angles on this grid over here so you guys can see what coterminal really means. So just like yesterday, I'm going to draw, and I'll draw this angle. We had 140 degrees. So 140 degrees, we always start on the x-axis over on the positive side. So that's our initial ray. And it is going to end in the second quadrant. Okay. So right there, we're representing 140 degrees. Okay. Now, what we did is we subtracted 360 away from this, right? So the reason why we're subtracting 360 away is because, oops, sorry, I hit the button off to the side. If I do a full rotation all the way around this line, that's 360 degrees. So that red circle I just drew, oh, I forgot. I can actually do it as a circle. So this red circle that I just drew in here, that is representing a 360 degree rotation. Notice when you did the full circle, we still ended at that same pink line. So no matter how many times I do a 360 rotation from that end line, I'm always going to end right there. I'm always going to end where I begin. That's what coterminal means. So I could take that 140 and I can add 360 onto it, and it should give us that answer we had earlier of 500 degrees. And that's exactly what we had over to the left. It's that 500 that's sitting right here. That just means 500 degrees and 140 degrees are coterminal to each other because we can take that 360 away and it's going to give us the same answer. And we can do it on repeat. So I'm going to do a couple down here. So sometimes you guys won't always be using the letter X when you talk about angles. Sometimes you'll start using Greek letters. So one of the Greek letters you're going to see is in exercise number 3. So exercise number 3 has something called alpha. So this is the Greek letter A. It's just alpha. It says alpha is 90 degrees. So if I have 90 degrees, and I want to find the coterminal angle, there's 2 directions we can go because it says give a positive and a negative angle. So if you want to give a positive coterminal angle, what we're going to do is just add 360. So if you ever want a positive angle, you are going to add 360 degrees because you're going to do a rotation in the positive direction. So if you do 360 plus 90, that I believe will give us 450. So that is a positive angle. If you would like to find a negative angle, instead of adding 360 on, we're just going to subtract it because now we're doing a negative rotation. And if you do 90 degrees minus 360 degrees, that's going to give you negative 270 degrees. So we just found one positive and one negative rotation or angle using those rotations. Okay, those are coterminal angles. So I'm just going to write underneath, and you don't have to write this like on the homework. I'm just writing it down for note purposes. 90, 450, and negative 270. All of these are coterminal angles. Okay. I told you guys this first lesson is a lot with vocabulary. It's making sure that you're understanding all these vocabulary words. Okay. I'm not going to do all of these ones here. Let's jump over to C. So I'll keep this up so you guys can still see both while we're doing it. So this time we're starting with 120 degrees. So same difference. If you guys want to find a positive coterminal angle, I could just add 360 on. And if we add 360 on, it looks like we're going to have 480 degrees. Okay. Now I have to find the negative angle. So I'm just going to subtract 360. And it looks like in this case, if we do 120 minus 360, we're going to get 240 degrees. So that just means 120, 240, and 480. Oh, I'm sorry, negative 240. I forgot my little negative sign there. So 120, negative 240, and 480, thank you, Cassidy, are all going to be coterminal. That means they all end at the same point on your grid. And we're not drawing them right now, but if we drew them, it would all end at the same spot. Okay? Does anybody want me to do another one of those problems? Or do you guys feel okay adding and subtracting 360? Because I just have to show you guys one other word, which is known as a reference angle. And reference angle are probably the most popular angles we're going to deal with. You guys did a little bit of it last year, not in the same sense as what we're going to do today, but probably tomorrow or Thursday. Heck, it might even be next week because I'm really slowing down these lessons for you guys, so you're not going to have that much homework during the week. All right, so if there's no questions with that, I'm going to go down to exercise number 4. So now this one says for each of the following angles, draw a rotation diagram and then state the reference angle for each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the first page just so I can show you guys the definition. Cassidy, yeah, I'm going to make the homework for Wednesday, 9 p.m. Wednesday at 9 p.m. So you guys have an opportunity to jump into Zoom and ask any questions if you want to, or shoot me emails. Obviously, if it's late, it's late. Just get it to me when you can. Okay? So the reference angle, the definition for this, it says it's the positive acute angle formed by the terminal ray and the x-axis. So I'm going to look at this little picture right here. So it says it is the positive acute angle formed by the terminal ray and the x-axis. So the terminal ray is this guy up here. This is the terminal ray. Right? Terminal ray. So it says it's the acute angle. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the definition of an acute angle. An acute angle means it has to be smaller than 90 degrees. So anytime you guys do a reference angle, oh my gosh, stupid iPad. Anytime you guys do a reference angle, it has to be smaller than 90 degrees. Because that's what acute means. So it's the angle that's created from the terminal ray and the x-axis. So I'm just going to draw a line straight down. And what you guys should be seeing is we're creating a little triangle here. And the type of triangle this is a right triangle. Okay. So the fact that this is a right triangle, if we're looking for the reference angle, that is this angle right here. That is your reference angle. It's whichever one is right in the center of your grid. So that's based on definitions. And I know a lot of you guys, I say this all the time. You don't learn based on definitions. You learn based on examples. So I wanted to show the definition. Now I'm going to go to the very last question, and I'm going to do an example with you. I'll probably do 2 examples with you guys to make sure you feel okay. All right. So I'm going to go all the way down now. And I have letter A. So this is exercise number 4A. Now, first of all, that is the Greek letter. Again, it's a Greek letter. This is just beta. Okay, so if we have beta, it says beta is equal to 160 degrees. So like the front page, you have to first graph 160 degrees. Well, 160 degrees, this is going to be in quadrant 2 because it's in between 90 and 180. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw in my starting or my initial ray, and then I'm going to draw in my terminating ray as well. Okay, so we know that this is represented by 160 degrees. So that the first part of this is just like what we did yesterday. It's exactly the same. The second part of this is locating the reference angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a right triangle with the x-axis. So I'm going to go to the terminating ray, which is the second line over here. What I want to do is create a right triangle with the x-axis. So I'm just going to draw a line that goes straight down. And you guys should see that you do have a little right triangle here. What the question is asking us to do is to find the reference angle, which is this angle right here. I need to know, what is that angle? Well, if we know that the outside is 160 degrees, if we do our math and we remember from geometry, if we have a straight line is always equivalent to 180 degrees. So if this is 160, that means this has to be only 20 more. So in this case, our reference angle is going to be equivalent to 20 degrees. Lots of times when you guys do reference angles, and I don't know if I labeled it on this one, I did not, reference angles tend to be known as theta. So reference angles tend to be known as theta. So I'm just going to write it down as theta equals 20 degrees. You guys may represent theta from geometry last year when you guys talked about angles. And that's it. So I want to show a couple examples though, because when we go to create these triangles, when you're in different quadrants, different things happen. So I want to make sure that you guys see all the examples and then you're okay. So I'm going to go over to part B now. Same type of problem. You just have to draw in your graph first. So in this case, it looks like we're dealing with 210 degrees. 210 is going to be in between 180 and 270. So if I go to graph this, that means it should be in quadrant 3. So I know it's going to be ending somewhere down here. So this angle is represented by 210 degrees. But again, this question is asking us to find a reference angle. So the reference angle is found by creating a right triangle with the x-axis. And notice how I'm emphasizing this. It's always going to be with the x-axis. It's never with the y-axis. So in this case, I'm going to draw a triangle going straight up. So now I have my right triangle. The reference angle, again, is that little angle that's created at the origin. So we want to know, what is that angle going to be equivalent to? So in this case, it's 210 degrees going all the way down to here. But just like the last one, this line was 180 degrees. So if it was 210 all the way down here and it was just past that line, what we can do is just take this 210 and subtract 180 away from it, and it will tell us what this little tiny piece is going to be. And if we do subtract those, that means it's going to come out to be 30 degrees, which again, I'm just going to call theta. So Sierra, a lot of the stuff in this is really just going to be straight up adding and subtracting. So this is trying to go back to basic math. It's just understanding what the definitions are saying. And this is what it comes down to. If some of you guys like geometry, some of you guys are going to really like these lessons because it's all vocabulary. If you disliked geometry last year, then a lot of this you may struggle with because of the vocabulary. So it's just the different type of learners that a lot of you guys are. All right, so part C, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to finish these last two off just because they're good practice. And it will help you guys out for the homework. So if you guys look at part C, it says beta is equal to 82 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to draw in 82 degrees, which in this case is going to be in the first quadrant. So I know that my starting ray is always going to be on that beginning positive x-axis side. 82 degrees is going to be somewhere up here. And I'm actually going to draw it a little bit in more just so when we go to draw in our triangle, it's a little bit easier to see. So this right here is represented by 82. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. But again, this is asking us to find the reference angle. So if we're looking to make a reference angle, the definition stated, create a right triangle with the x-axis. So in this case, I'm going to draw a line straight down. And as you guys can see, it's going to go through my writing because of, here, I'm going to do this. I'll put the 82 degrees right here. All right, so now I have my 90 degrees. That is not a 90-degree angle. I don't know how to draw straight lines when the iPad draws straight lines for me. All right, so now I have my 90 degrees. So the reference angle is just this angle on the inside. This one is the easiest of all the ones we've done so far because we already know that angle on the inside. We said that the angle was that 82 degrees. So there was no extra work we had to do for this one because we already had our solution. That only happens if it's in the first quadrant. If it's in the first quadrant, it just stays the same and you're good to go. All right. As far as the last one goes, it's kind of like what we talked about in the previous problem with coterminal angles. I don't recommend graphing negative angles. I always recommend making it positive first. So if we have negative 120, my suggestion would be to add on 360 first to figure out which quadrant that's going to go into. So if I add on 360, that's going to come out to be 240 degrees. And we know 240 degrees is going to be in the third quadrant again. So all I'm going to do is draw in my angle. I know I'm going to be down here in that third quadrant. And again, the angle that's going all the way around is 240 degrees. In order to find the reference angle, we have to create a triangle with the x-axis. It's always going to be a right triangle when you guys do this. And we have to find this little angle on the inside. When we go to find that angle, again, I keep using my mouse and you guys can't see my mouse cursor. When we go to find that angle, we know that this over here was 180 degrees. So if we know this one's down at 240, we just have to take the 240 and that 180 and subtract them from each other. And if we were to do 240 degrees minus 180 degrees, it'll come out to be 60 degrees. So in this case, theta would be equal to 60. And now I'm trying to figure out, did Javon ever come in here? I switched the whole stream for him, and I don't think he ever showed up afterwards. All right, so is there any questions with how I found those angles? Because as far as your homework goes, so number 1 on the homework was like what we did yesterday. You just had to graph the angles. Number 2 is graphing the angles, but then finding the reference angle. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be nice. Just do the first 3. So as far as number 2 goes, you only have to do A, B, and C. You don't even have to worry about the last 3. Okay? And as far as the second page goes, the last 3 are multiple choice. So I'm not going to cross any of those out because it's just working with the coterminal and reference angles. It's just practicing with the vocabulary. And then in number 3, this is the coterminal where you're just doing the positive and negative. Again, I'm just going to make you guys do 2 of them. I'm going to have you guys do just A and B. Because if you guys can do A and B, there's no point in doing C and D as well. I'm not going to make you guys do extra work. Okay? So again, I'll scroll up just in case, because I know some people are going to be watching this on Twitch later or watching it on YouTube later. You guys need to do all of number 1, practice with your graphing. 2, you only have to do A, B, and C. 3, you only have to do A and B. And then you got the 3 multiple choice questions, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? Hopefully that's not too overwhelming. Stop by the Zoom tomorrow if you guys have questions. Coterminal, Tabitha. What did we say coterminal means? Add or subtract